Well, I want to thank you guys for coming today to learn a little bit about something that I have a lot of passion around. And when I was asked to come and speak for the group today, I had to dig real deep and think hard, how can I help folks in the landscape and the masonry industry? I don't come necessarily from the landscape and masonry industry. I have experience with it from doing a lot of projects over the years in pieces and parts, but I'm not a landscaper, nor am I a mason. But I do believe that there's a lot of similarities between the two. Between remodeling, which is where I come from, design build, high-end, working with customers, doing high volume, and landscaping, and including masonry projects. They're projects. You're building a project. And so what we're going to talk about today is how to have a successful project. Oh, this thing turned off on me. Hold on. It's always got to be technology issues. Sorry about this.
Do you need an assistant, Matt?
No, it's warming up.
Okay.
You guys see it? Start. So we're going to talk about preparing your project for success while assuming the unexpected. And so the general theme of this is project management. And a lot of folks think that project management is just something you do when a project's being built while it's in construction, during construction. What we're going to talk about today is how we uncover all of the variables that can happen and the unexpected up front, and how we deal with the project from the very beginning, meaning the first meeting with the customer, the first time you connect with them, all the way through the project to the very end. There's steps that can be taken where you set things up properly along the way, where you can handle any bumps that come along during the build of the project. So we'll be going through the process from beginning to end, and then we'll start out with some key areas. The first key area is going to be having a process from beginning to end. We'll also be focusing on knowing and understanding the customer, a detailed plan and a plan of execution, setting proper expectations and dealing with conflict, and using tools and methods to build trust and confidence. I'll probably be repeating myself a lot around building trust and confidence. It's a really key part of this. So these are kind of the key areas we're going to talk about today. This is going to be an interactive session, so there'll be some exercises we'll do as a group. So I'm hoping that Vikings win is still on you a little bit. You're wanting to get up and interact with each other, because we're going to do some of that. We're going to focus a lot on the customer. The customer is the biggest variable in a project. There's weather, there's all kinds of things that can happen. You can unveil something when you dig up the ground, or you can unveil something when you open up a wall. Those are unexpected variables that you run into in a project. But the biggest variable and the most difficult variable to deal with is the customer. So there's a process from beginning to end in a project. This is something that's really important for somebody in a business to be able to share with their customer up front. When they first meet with them, saying, I have a process that I follow from beginning to end. Here's how I work. We're going to have these meetings, and we're going to start here, and we're going to end here. And here are all the steps that we're going to follow along the way as we work together. The first step in the process would be a first meeting, right? And that's when you first meet the customer. We're going to discuss that first meeting and what you can learn from that meeting, and how you can use that information and the conversations you can have to carry that information with you all the way through and set that project up for success. A lot of what we're going to be talking about today may sound as though it's very sales oriented. I'm sorry, I have a tendency to love sales, and it is geared that way a little bit, but this information that you gather is going to be very helpful in your project being successful when you build it. It's not just to help you with your sales, it's to help you have a successful project. The second step is preparation. You have a meeting with the customer, now you need to go away, you need to do some preparation work. Then you come back and you do a presentation to the customer. After that, there's a pre-construction meeting. How many of you do a pre-construction meeting on your projects? Some of you? Okay, that's great. And how early do you do that? How many days or weeks before you start the project do you do a pre-construction meeting? Day of? Okay. The next step is project management and project meetings. That's once you've started construction. Then there's a project close and recap. So this is a process from beginning to end. When you meet with somebody, you can lay this out to them and say, this is how we work. This is how we run our projects. This is what we're going to do, and here are the steps along the way. It's a great roadmap to share with your customers. So the first meeting, you want to consider it a first date. A lot of people go out on a first meeting and they think they're there on a sales call. And they want to talk about their company, and they want to talk about what they do and how they do it and why they're really good at what they do. In a first meeting, you want to consider it a first date in such that it's not necessarily an intimate date. It could be a date where you're just meeting somebody on a professional level for the first time, but you really want to show up well. And on a first date, you want to confirm. And this is something that's very unique that'll be very helpful. This is how you begin to build a relationship before you even meet somebody. So, to confirm that meeting, you call the day before. It's a real simple conversation. It's usually a conversation into a voicemail. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Can't wait. I'll see you at 4 o'clock. Give me a call if anything comes up, but otherwise I'm very excited to see you. Click. It's usually a voicemail. Or you have an interaction with them. Now here's something that's unique that you can do that really help you stand out from everybody else and really start to build that trust and confidence in the customer, is you call 10 minutes before you arrive. Not many people do that. How many of you guys do that here in the... Dan? Okay. I came up with this concept myself, building thousands of projects over the years and having tons of problems. I've had plenty of failures, projects that have been complete disasters, and had customers who were extremely upset. And a lot of this learning came from dealing with those failures and turning them into successes. Something that's very unique, and I fought this, I would be driving to the house and I would say, I don't need to call them. I just called them yesterday. I don't need to call them. I just called them yesterday. It's like this internal battle. And I ended up making myself make the phone call. Sounds like it's not that important, but it's really key. They could be busy doing something, they're not expecting you, you can catch them off guard, and it could really make for an unpleasant beginning to a meeting that you're going to have with them. Not only that, you now have had a second interaction with them. So even though it's been a voicemail or a phone call, they actually believe they've kind of know you a little bit. You've had a couple of conversations, you've had a couple of contacts, and so it's the beginning of building a relationship, and you're already ahead of the game by doing this. When you meet somebody, and this kind of goes back to a first date, you want to seek first to understand and then to be understood. This is a famous quote from Stephen Covey. It's something that when you're meeting somebody, they really don't care a whole lot about you and what you're going to do, and when you sit there and talk all about yourself, they're going to check out. They don't want a whole lot to do with that. What people want to hear is their own voice. They want to hear their own name, and they want to hear their own voice. So the meeting has to be completely geared around understanding them before you are given an opportunity to be understood. You have to make an investment in that relationship before you can make a withdrawal when you're talking about yourself and who you are and what you do. So it's really important to seek first to understand and then to be understood. The next thing is to ask a lot of questions. A lot of people come in and they say, yeah, here's how I work, here's where I'm from, this is how long I've been in business. I have this many crews, I've been around for 30 years, I do high quality work, I got this Better Business Bureau rating, and the customer completely shuts off. You want to ask a lot of questions. This information that you're going to get from asking these questions is going to be critical in setting this project up for success. You're going to get all the clues you need in order to be able to present them with a project that not only they love and they absolutely have to have, it's also going to give you the clues you need to understand how you need to manage that project as you're building it. They're going to tell you everything you know. So it's a never-ending question. So how do you do a never-ending question? The key is you don't ask close-end questions. You want to ask open-ended questions. So the question I've always used over the years, and I don't know how this was established, it just seemed to become the favorite question to kind of open the door, is how long have you been in the house? So just a little quick role play here. How long have you been in the house? Well, I've been in the house for 3 years. Okay, great. Where were you before this? Well, I was over on the other side of town. We lived in Eden Prairie. Okay, well, what brought you here? Well, we like the neighborhood, and we have some friends that live over here. Also, our job is close by here. Okay, great. Where do you work? Your job's nearby here. What business is it? They tell you the business they work at. Oh, that's great. You work at Best Buy. That makes sense. That's why you moved over here. So what else brought you to the house? Well, we have some friends in the neighborhood. Okay, how did you meet them? And they tell you about that. And you continue going, so on and so on and so on. Something you want to ask in that series of questions, and you really want to do this for a very long time and take a lot of notes in your head, not necessarily write them down because it's very salesy. Take a lot of notes in your head and write them down as quick as you can afterwards. But something you do want to ask is make an acknowledgement of the home and what they've done with it since they've been there. If they've been there for 3 years, you look at something, and this applies to landscaping, masonry, general contracting, you name it, it doesn't matter. You want to identify something and say, it looks like you've done an upgrade here. Have you done any work on the house? And they typically have an answer. Did you do it yourself, or did you hire somebody to do it? Well, when they tell you that they've hired somebody to do it, you really want to ask them about that experience and how that went for them. They're going to give you every bit of information you need to know to be able to set up that project for success, because they're going to tell you how they felt about it. A lot of times people are very nice. In Minnesota, they're very nice. They're not necessarily going to tell you exactly how it was. They might say, yeah, it was, it went great. Yeah, no, the project was great. That's kind of the answer you get. Okay, well, if you could get some feedback from them around what didn't go so well, what would you give them? What would you tell them if you had to share with them what didn't go so well? And they'll open up and let you know everything you need to know about that project. And it gives you their point of view on how they see things and how they view the world, right? Very critical information. This is an extremely key part of a first meeting with a customer as you're getting the information to set up the project. The next piece, what I call, is Design 101 versus Advisor. In design school, a lot of people are taught to come in and do programming. You come in and you say, what would you like? And they tell you what they want. Yes, I would like a fire pit right here. I would like a patio right here. And I would like a little garden over here. And you take some notes and you say, what color? What style? What brand? What shade? And you take some more notes. And you say, great, I'll get back to you and I'll give you a quote. Or I'll do a drawing and I'll give you exactly what you want. In order to really add some value and be the expert, you want to be the advisor instead of just doing the programming. You want to come in there and ask them how they live. How do you plan on using the space? Do you guys plan on entertaining in the evening, in the daytime? Do you plan on having family over? Do you plan on having a lot of guests over? Is there a big event that you're going to be using the area for? And you want to ask those questions. And from that discovery and from those questions, you're going to be able to decide for them what is best for their project versus them telling you what they want. You're going to tell them what you think is best for their project based on that feedback you've given. This is really critical. You want to differentiate yourself this way. And you don't want to be the yes man, you want to be the expert. I've gone out to eat before and I've asked the server, it actually happened just a year ago, I went to Cheesecake Factory. And I can't stand going to that place, but everybody wanted to go there, and there's like a 30-page menu, and it's really hard to figure out what you want to eat because you're flipping pages for a half hour. And so I ordered the carne asada, which probably is a bad choice for a Cheesecake Factory, but I ordered the carne asada, and the server made this kind of frowny face and looked at me weird, and I said, what? And she said, you probably don't want to get that here. And I thought it was great. I was like, thank you for being honest. She said, if you get it at Mexican restaurants, you're probably not going to like our carne asada. It's a little different here. And I said, well, what do you recommend? And she recommended something, and I got it, and I loved it, and she got a huge tip. A lot of times you'll go somewhere, and you ask the server, what's good? And they say, everything. Everything's good. And it's not really helpful. People want an expert. They want an advisor. They don't want somebody who's just going to say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, I'll give you exactly what you asked for. So here's a little quote I love. if you would have asked people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses. This is a quote from Henry Ford. So, and there's some truth in that. We wouldn't have cars if he didn't innovate, right? If he just asked people what they wanted, he would have tried to genetically breed some horses differently so we could have faster horses, and we would never ended up with cars. So you really want to be innovative. You want to push the edge, and you want to be the expert and the advisor when you're working with the customer. And you're probably wondering, like, why are we all talking about this right now? It's a little bit about sales, but it's also about building the confidence and the trust in the customer. So when you're building that project and the unexpected comes along, the pipe breaks, or the thing falls down, or the tractor flips over in the mud, or whatever happens. And again, I'm not a landscaping expert, so I'm just making up stuff here. But when that happens, they're going to know that you're an expert, and they're going to have a higher level of trust and confidence in you. And then you want to set expectations for the process about what's next. There's an item called set up and tear down. So when you have a meeting with somebody, you want to say, here's what's going to happen today, and then here's what's going to happen in our next meetings, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the meeting, you say, here's what happened today, and here's what we're going to do in our next meeting. And it's a really great way of setting expectations. Have a process and a structure, do a setup and tear down, and now you have let them speak about themselves. You've listened, asked, and you haven't said anything about your company. Now you've earned the right to stand on your soapbox, puff your chest up, and they're going to give you their full attention for at least 5 to 10 minutes. And you've really got an opportunity to tell them all about you and your company and what you do and why you do it. Because you've earned that right by being such a great listener. So you want to tell them your company story. You want to tell them why you love what you do and why you do what you do. A lot of people talk about what they do instead of why they do it. So Apple, the company Apple, was built on a why. It wasn't built on a product. It wasn't built on a how or a what. It was built on a why. Apple was built on the idea of challenging the status quo. That was Steve Jobs. He wanted to challenge the status quo. He wanted to be different, didn't want to be the same. And it created a huge cult following of other people who wanted to be part of this cult, who are also challenging the status quo. And that's what built Apple. Today, I would say that's not the reason why people do Apple, because it's become so big and so huge. But if you go back in history, that's really how that company grew, because of their why. So come up with your why and share that with your customer. Why do you do what you do? Why do you love what you do? Maybe it's because you hire young folks and you train them, and you get to see them grow professionally in their careers. That's why I do what I do. And that's why I love what I do. Or I love what I do because I get to see the smile on my customer's face and get to see them spend all these years with their families making memories in this wonderful space we created for them. That's why you do what you do. And then at the end of that meeting, you want to get a verbal commitment to continue working together. And the conversation goes something like, hey, it could be, the conversation could be based on your interaction with them, could be, hey, I think we should take some time to think about things and get back with each other. That would mean that you probably don't want to work with them for whatever reason, or maybe you're not a good fit. Or the conversation could be, I think we should continue working with each other. I'm really excited about your project. I'm really looking forward for the opportunity, and I think I have some great ideas for you. You're going to be really excited with what I come up with. And so you talk about the next step, and then you move forward, set a date. Okay, right now we're going to get into personality types. This is a key part. In that first meeting you had with the customer, you had a lot of interactions with them. And so when people do personality type, or they take a test, a Myers-Briggs or a DISC or something like that, you can do those things. And it's like a 15-page survey to figure out what somebody's personality is. There is a way you can do this within a minute to figure out what somebody's personality is, personality type. So we're going to go through that. We're going to do an exercise as a group. The question I have is, why are some people so difficult to work with and some people so easy to work with? Not only is there one person to satisfy on a project, typically there are two. This is where it gets tricky. So you guys have all done a lot of projects, right? How many times have you been completely shocked when you had a conversation with one of the homeowners and everything was great, And then later on that evening, you get the 5-page email from the other homeowner, and things aren't so great. You guys experience that? All the time, right? Because they're different people. And so what happens is you hang out with the one that you get along with, because you like talking to them, they're easy to talk with, and then you don't spend a whole lot of time having conversation with the one who's difficult. And so you're defining your customer experience based on that customer's personality and avoiding the one that you don't quite click with. Or maybe the other one's a poor communicator and the couple doesn't communicate well with each other, and then you got even a bigger issue. So there's two people. So that's one of the reasons why personality types are very important to know and understand, and really have your head around it. Like, write it down and have your head around that as you're planning this project and as you're creating a strategy on how this project is going to be successful. So we're going to do a little exercise here. And this is the part where I hope you guys are all in a good mood and you don't mind getting close to each other for a few minutes. We're going to have an interaction. And so I'm going to get my, my timer here. Okay, so everybody get up and find a person near you. Okay, great. That was easy. Thank you guys. You're very cooperative. All right. So what we're going to do, it's not really a never-ending question, but if you think of that thought process, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little interaction with each other, and from this interaction, we're going to get some information, and we're going to be able to determine what someone's personality type is. So hopefully you guys aren't getting nervous now because you're thinking, oh my gosh, this person's going to judge me. But the big thing to learn here is that there is nothing wrong with any personality type at all. There's nothing wrong at all. We're all different, and that's what makes the world go around. So whatever personality type you are, that's awesome because you bring a ton of strengths to the world that you can share with everybody. You also have some baggage too, like we all do. So we're going to start with a question. I want you to ask this question, and then I want you just to just talk. And we're going to do that for about 30 seconds. Okay. So the question is, where are you from? Go. Okay, stop. All right, we have one more question, okay? What do you like to do with your spare time? Okay, everybody go. Okay, stop. All right, so I want everybody to sit back down, and you got a piece of paper and a pen there. So grab your pen, and with these couple of questions, write down kind of what you got out of that conversation. So did the person you were speaking with think, or did they feel? Did they use the word I think, or did they use the word I feel? Did they seem logical, or did they seem emotional? Just make a guess, write it down. Okay. Everybody got that? Okay, so the next question is, were they easy to share? Were they very open in their sharing? Or did they hold back? Was it hard to get them to talk? Were they uncomfortable?
Luckily with my sons.
Yeah. Well, if you don't know his personality type by now, okay. So hold on to that information. We're going to use that here in a second. Just hold on to that. Remember your conversation with that person. And again, this is not judging. This is understanding. This is about embracing people for who they are, not judging them for who they are. And so it's very powerful if you approach it the right way. If you approach it the wrong way, it's not a healthy thing to do. So each of your customers has a unique personality, and then how do you communicate with them? You want to meet them on their level. That's really the key. There's a level they're on, and you want to speak their language, and you got to figure out how to do that. And this will be valuable in setting up the project for success the remainder of the way. So here's the different personality types, and this is on your sheet if everybody wants to grab their sheet that you have on your table. It's got the 4 boxes on it. So the four personality types, they work, here's how they work, is towards the top here, these are people who are more logical, they're more task focused. They're typically a little more closed. Towards the bottom, these are people who are emotional, less logical. They're typically a little more open, but not entirely, depending on which side of the chart you're on. Then you go over here to this side, these are people who are introverted. They typically talk slower, they don't want to share as much, they keep to themselves. And then over here, people are really outgoing, they're extroverted, they typically talk fast. So that's the basic quadrants of personality types. We all possess the ability to be, and we have to in order to function in society, we all possess the ability to be all of these personality types at any one point in time. So if you're a business owner here and you find yourself as an expressive and you love getting out there and talking to the customers and you bring a lot of emotion to the table and you talk about how excited you are about their project and how beautiful it's going to be and you have all this passion around what you do, you don't like getting into the detail like up here, but you love doing this, there's going to be that day where you need to sit down and you got to do your paperwork. You got to do your books. So you got to put on the analytical hat. And so all of us possess the ability to be all these personalities, but we typically stand out as a general MO or modus operandus. That's how you show up in life. It's your natural way of being. So we have an outstanding personality that really drives who we are and how we show up. And so there's different behaviors. They're on your sheet and you can read them, but I'm just going to talk about them from a career standpoint. It's kind of an easy way to identify where these personality types typically fit. Over here, the driver, they're really outgoing and they're very logical. They don't have a lot of patience. They're directly to the point. They're very blunt. They don't mind speaking their mind. They're typically CEOs of companies. Sometimes they're lawyers. Sometimes they're operational people who are very, very task-oriented. They're very direct and they're to the point. They don't like a ton of small talk or nonsense detail. They do like detail, but they want the kind of the broad brush. They want the bullet points. They want to know what you're telling them. There's no BS in it. Let's cut to the chase here, right? That's kind of the person you're dealing with here. Over here, we have the analytical, typically accountants, scientists, mathematicians, engineers, people who like to get into the high level of detail. They want to really sit and think about things. You ask them a question, they're going to really think about it and analyze it and process it and think about it and analyze it and process it. And then they might eventually give you an answer once they've done all that. These people want all kinds of detail. And why is this important? If you're designing or building a project for somebody, they need to know every single thing that's going on. They want to get down to every single penny. They want to get down to every nut, every bolt. How is this thing going together? What's the model number? What's the specification for that? And they need that information in order to be satisfied, because that's what they need. That's what they want in life. Down here you have the Amiable. This person is a lot of times a school teacher, a social worker, a nurse, people who are in service. These are the people who really like to make others happy. They're givers. They care a lot about people. They're very emotional, but they're not very outspoken. And so the Amiable could be really upset about something and you'd never know it. You can ask them questions and it's hard to get that information out of them. And so we talked about the conversation with the homeowner where one of them sends the email and they said it was fine because they didn't want to tell you to your face that they had an issue. They were uncomfortable with that, right? So they hold it in. You really got to get these people to open up. And then the expressive, this is typically a salesperson, people who are in performing arts, very enthusiastic, very, very outgoing people, typically the life of the party. So these are your different personality types. This is what makes the world go around. And so what I want you to do is take your piece of paper there that has the 4 quadrants on it and write down where you think the person, based on did they think or did they feel, were they outgoing or were they a little more withdrawn? Based on those 2 things, where do you think that person that you interacted with sits on this personality chart? And write you and put a circle around it. And then put yourself on there as well. And I could see the analyticals thinking about this. Did you write it down? Or are some of you still analyzing? Okay, so now I want you to go to that person that you interacted with and share with them which one you picked.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. I lean more towards that. I can definitely be more expressive with the kids than that.
Okay, everybody, can I get everybody's attention? All right, so how many of you were right? Correct? How many of you were correct? Keep your hands up. Okay, so the majority of you were correct in your assessment. How many of you were correct about yourself? Less. Isn't it funny how that works? A lot of us perceive ourselves differently than how others do. So we're not even aware of our own personality types. So
we could use a little bit more time. We haven't hardly got through as far as enough time to.
Okay.
You'd have to know somebody longer, talk to them,
Sure.
around them longer.
So
Yeah.
I made it a little tough.
sure, we made this hard on the analyticals. we have to embrace, and that's what's great about this is it's embracing everybody for who they are. It's not about saying that this person's wrong for who they are. They're wonderful, but you have to embrace them for who they are and meet them at their level and really try and understand them. So a little transition here from that. Hang on to that information. We'll talk about it as we go here. So your next step now is that you've met with the homeowner and you now are back at your office and you've got all this information. And by the way, you guys did that in 1 minute. You did the personality assessment in 1 minute. It only took 1 minute, 30 seconds each question. You were able to figure out the other person's personality within 1 minute. So write that down. It's important to share with your team. Now you're coming back to do preparation, and you have this valuable information about their project, how they live, what they want to use the space for, what their personality type is, what their likes, what their dislikes are, what makes them upset. They've shared experiences with you, and you're going to start preparing the project. You got to ask yourself, what is the essence of the project? This particular project, they wanted it done by graduation. Go ahead.
Sorry, just a quick question.
Uh-huh.
Are you going to be able to share your PowerPoint with us?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah, afterwards. Yeah, and so, and time-wise, we might have to speed through some of it towards the end here based on when we started, but yeah, we'll get through most of it, and I'll be glad to share this with you guys. It's good stuff. It's fun stuff. So, yeah, this particular project is a graduation party, and they want kind of a cottage feel. So ask yourself, did you listen to them when you were at the house? What are their personalities? We just did that. Why is it important? How they want to be communicated to. The analytical is going to want all the details. The drivers want to cut to the chase. They want to know, how much is it? Just tell me, how much is it? How much is it? How many customers have you guys had who are like that? Just tell me how much. I don't want to get into all this stuff. Just tell me how much. The expressive is just talking about how excited they are and how they just love the idea and they just can't wait to have it built. Got a little warning for you here, though. They probably weren't listening to you when you were explaining to them what was going to happen and you were setting expectation. And so an expressive can come across as somebody who's really friendly and who's going to be a really great customer to work with, but they weren't paying attention along the way, and now you go and build something for them, and then they say, well, that's not what I wanted. Well, we showed you the drawing. We went through the details. Well, I saw the picture, but that doesn't look like the picture. Right? How many of you dealt with that one? It happens a lot. So you got to be careful with the expressives. They're really fun, but a lot of times they're so ahead of themselves, they're not paying attention. They're really focused on the kind of warm and glossy and fuzzy part of it. And then the amiable, you got to put something together that's really going to get them to open up and share how they feel, because they're going to have a hard time doing that.
My wife,
Yeah?
worst customer I've ever had.
And what are you as a personality then?
Wanted pushing the driver's side.
Driver? Okay. And so on the chart, typically opposites attract, right? So a driver and amiable, and it's a hard time for a driver to understand an amiable because they say, why are you so sensitive? And an amiable says, why is he so insensitive? Right? He doesn't care about my feelings, right? And so when you're dealing with customers, there's a good chance that they're opposites. Expressive and the analyticals don't get along real well. I'm an extreme expressive, and people who are analyticals get really annoyed by me. So I'm sorry that I went too fast with the to give people enough time to think about it, because I was excited to move on. I'm looking at the clock here. So you want to ask yourself, what are the main goals and the problems that need solved? And you want to do some risk management. This gets into assuming the unexpected. What could go wrong on this project? You really want to ask that. You're going to put something together and you're going to present it to them. Don't hang yourself by coming up with something that you're going to regret doing just because they asked for it. You want to do some risk management. Know the products you're using, know the installation. I had a customer at one time who asked me to put a fish tank over their bar. 4 feet wide, by 6 feet wide, by 2 feet tall, and it was going to hang from the ceiling over the bar. And I told him absolutely no. You're going to have to engineer all your trusses. You're going to have to put in footings. Not only that, if it does break, you got a huge mess on your hands. And I'm not going to be responsible for that. And they said, well, we're going to hire someone else to do it. And I told them that's fine. Go ahead. I'm not going to get involved in that. So you really want to have some risk management. You want to set expectations for what could go wrong. You want to tell them no if it's a good idea. They will actually respect you for it. A lot of times you tell someone no, and they say, well, nobody else told me no. And you tell them no, and you tell them why you don't think that's a good idea. They now trust you. And they now don't trust anybody else that they've spoke to, because they're like, everybody else was like, yes, I'll do the job. I don't really care what you're asking me to do. You want to show them something unique that you are certain no one else will. And you want to load the plan with options. So you want to put all the pieces in here that speak to all the personality types, so everybody who's involved in this gets the information they need to know and have proper expectations. So the customer asked for a patio over here, a fire pit over here, and a garden over here, and you come back and say, this is what I did, and you could say, yeah, look, I put this together for you, but I also came up with another idea. Let me show that to you. I actually put it over here, and here's why. Because you have better flow, and the sun's going to come up over here, and the garden's going to function better over there. And this is my thinking behind this, and I really strongly recommend this is how we do it. A lot of folks aren't going to do that. They're just going to give them what they ask for, so you want to wow them. And details, details, details. You think that the analytical is only interested in the details? Well, the expressive needs the details more than the analytical does, because they got to really learn. You got to put enough detail in there that they're going to get everything, and that expectations are proper for the project. They create a clear understanding, and they prevent any misunderstanding down the road. You don't want to be tearing something out because it's not what they thought it was. And then estimating, this goes back to details. More detail, the better your estimate is. So when you're doing an estimate, something I was taught by somebody when I took an estimating course is that a bad number on something is better than completely missing something. Just kind of a little rule I learned. It works really well. So if you put $60 in there instead of $80 or $120, at least you've got $60 instead of zero. So make sure you have enough detail that you don't leave anything out when you're putting together an estimate. You also want to do the math up front. So if you're going to deal with somebody who really wants to process numbers, create options for them that are pre-figured out before you meet with them. So here's your project, it's this much, and then here's all these things that are in it. And if you were to make this change, it would be this much less, this much less, this much less, and have that figured out in advance of meeting with them. So when you're meeting with them, you're providing that information, and it makes it very quick and easy for them to make decisions. Really key part of estimating. And then you want to prepare a schedule for how long the project will take. Nobody wants to go on a trip without a road map, right? I know we all have Google Maps, but you got to have some kind of map if you're going to go on a trip. And nobody wants to have a project done without having an idea of when it's going to start, how you're going to get from this point to that point. I know there's a lot of variables here with the weather. That changes things, but to have something in place up front at least kind of sets the groundwork for how the project is going to phase and how it's going to go. So the plan, this is the broad brush. This particular overview kind of captures everything. This is like a planting plan. And what it does is it's your driver's going to like this type of plan. It's going to be, yep, I get it. You got the garden there. You got the pool there. You got the patio there. How much? Right? And the analytical is going to be like, well, can you tell me how deep is that right there? And what's the texture on this surface here? Right? And they're going to ask those questions. So the plan, the broad brush, the overview plan works for some people. It's an important part of the project to get a vision, but it doesn't handle everything. And then you got this. Who's going to love this plan? The expressives. Wow, that's awesome. I gotta have it. I can't wait. Just imagine, we'll be sitting in our backyard in the evening, getting bit by mosquitoes, and looking at that beautiful landscape you put in for us. And so the expressive likes it, but who needs this plan? Thanks, Dan. The analytical needs this plan because it's hard to get them excited. So you show this to an analytical, and now they're really excited. They kind of forget about all the logic and all the numbers and stuff. They see this, and they're like, yeah, that is pretty cool, right? Oh, but how did you stack those boulders there? And tell me how'd you keep them in place. I want to hear the detail on that. And then you've got this, the detail. So it's really important to have a lot of detail on a project. It sets proper expectations. It clearly lays out exactly how things are going to go. There's no questions. It builds a ton of confidence in people. So when you're dealing with somebody who's very detail-oriented, they're going to love this. But this is really important to share with somebody who's not detail-oriented because they're not paying attention. And they need to know how it's going to go. And you've got to go out of your way to make sure they understand how this thing is going together. So just this last week, we went out to a project, and there was a customer, and he wasn't that upset, but he wasn't happy. He was concerned. house was being built, and there was this weird transition on where the stone was coming down to the foundation, and they put some foam on the house, and he didn't like it. He didn't like the way it was looking. And we asked him, well, the general contractor have a plan? He's like, no, I don't know how that's going to go together. And he got the mason involved, and he was really starting to lose confidence and trust in the general contractor who was running the project. We teamed the mason and the general contractor up with each other, and they figured it out. But there was no detail on how this thing was going to go together, and the customer was really concerned and upset. He's spending a lot of money on this. And so when that customer starts going from confident and trustworthy to questioning and wondering if they made the right decision, they start going down the wrong path, and they start going down the wrong path really fast. So detail is really important, and then a map of how you get from beginning to end. Schedule, they can all be written differently. This looks like it's for a big commercial flat work project or a foundation. And so now you're going to come back and you're going to give them the presentation. As before, if you're consistent with this, you confirm the meeting the day before and 10 minutes before. You set up the meeting. Here's what we're going to do today. You present the price briefly, then the plan, then you get into the price details last. A lot of people think this is backwards. Here's how this works. When you give somebody a number, they're going to kind of gulp. It's typically going to be more than what they expected or they wanted. And you want them to recover from that, right? So it's best to give them the price first and say, hey, your project's coming in, I'll use a number here, 60. Your project coming in at 60. I got a lot of options for you, but I want to walk you through the plan and show you all the details and walk you through everything so you completely understand what's included. And then after we're done with that, then we'll get into the numbers and we'll start talking about how we get the design and the budget to line up with each other. So you want to do this. It's something that's unique in the industry. A lot of people present the price last, and the customer then needs to think about it because they haven't recovered from that shock of where that number came in at. You want to give them lots of options to change, and you want to go out of your way to emphasize what is best for their project. Again, you are the advisor. You are the expert. You are the trusted advisor. And you want to tell them no if something's not a good idea. Show renderings and envision. Go through every detail. And you want to set the project start date, and you want to sign documents. Yes?
A lot of times, when I go out, I talk. You kind of get an idea what they're after, and then kind of give them a shotgun estimate as far as this is going to cost $5,000, and they think it's only going to cost $800, and they're not even close.
Sure.
You can end up wasting an awful lot of time that is not fruitful.
Sure.
And if they haven't even a clue of where it could possibly be, I kind of you got to be careful.
Yeah, I think and that goes back to the first meeting of, do you want to ask somebody directly for a budget number, or do you want to approach it differently, right? And depending on what works best for you and your comfort zone, some people don't function well if they don't have a budget number because they feel like they're spinning their wheels. It creates a little trust issue with themselves and the customer because they're not really feeling confident about things. I think the best way to handle that is to brush on it and ask the customer how they're going about this project, and understand that and acknowledge and respect that they're probably talking to other companies as well, and trust that they're smart people and they're going to make the right decision. And you got to kind of put that out there and let them know that, and say, a project like this typically can run between here and here in a pretty broad range, and let them know that they're in control of their own destiny and they can really decide where that project's going to land. But you do have to put some type of reality around what's out there before you go and spend all this time working on something. I completely agree. Good point. Thank you. So the next step would be to set expectations for the next steps in the pre-construction meeting. You sign documents, and then you have contracts. And the big thing with this is do you need a contract? A lot of people don't do one. And I know in the remodeling industry, there's a lot of people that don't, that I've worked with. Over the years, more and more have done so because legally you have to tell people their rights and your rights. If you don't do that, you can get in big trouble for that. In the landscaping industry and masonry industry, I'm not sure how many folks are and aren't doing that. But what happens is people think that it's personal. So they've got a good relationship with somebody and they don't want to do a contract. Because they're like, if I give this to this person and it has all this legal jargon in here, they're going to get offended and they're my friend and they're going to feel like I don't trust them and I don't want to give this to them and have them sign that. And the thing to remember is that it's not personal, it's business. And so that's the main reason why a lot of people don't do contracts, is because they're afraid they're going to cross that line and upset that person, thinking that they don't respect them or they don't trust them. And so the key with a contract is to set proper expectations for everyone involved and make sure that they understand what needs to happen. It's an exchange. It's, I'm going to do this for you and you're going to do this for me. And that's really the key to a contract, is setting expectations. Outside of that, the only place a contract does any good is in court. Using a contract to kind of wave in someone's face and say, well, my contract says this, so I don't need to do that, typically doesn't go too well. Or my contract says this, or my plan says this, so I'm not going to rebuild this or redo this. This is the way it is, tough. You're probably better off going along and trying to work out something with the homeowner, because the only place a contract does any good is in court. And so contracts are really important. I have a link here for a firm that I've worked with. They're pretty well known in Minnesota. It's called Rinke Noonan. They're out of St. Cloud. They specialize in construction law. You can go to their website, and I'll share this with those who request. I've got my email on here at the end, or I'll give you my business card. But you can go to their website, and they have boilerplate documents that you can use, and you could put all your information in here and use this document for your contracts on your projects, and it covers you legally because they meet all the state requirements for having a contract. So contracts, this is not the most fun subject, but it is a really important piece of setting expectations and having a successful project. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have a pre-construction meeting. At that pre-construction meeting, you want to have everybody there. The design, the project manager, the foreman, the crew, any subcontractors if you're going to have them there. You want to have everybody there, and you want it to make it a big event. So the homeowner's there and they see all these people show up at their house, and it's really exciting. And they're like, wow, I made a great decision. I hired these people, and look at all these people that showed up here to come check out my project and make sure that it's gonna function properly and work well. The purpose of the pre-construction meeting, and this is to share with the homeowner, and a lot of people over the years have disagreed with this, with me, but I feel strongly about it, is that you want to go out of the way, and this creates a little humility, a little transparency, and you want to tell the homeowner, the reason why we're here is we're going to go out of our way to find fault in our own plan. My goal here today is to take my plan and poke holes in it and really make sure there are no issues. We're going to unveil these issues. We're going to turn over every stone and make sure there are no problems. And with that attitude and approach, the homeowner trusts you for doing that, and inevitably you're going to find something that you planned on doing that isn't going to go exactly as you initially thought it was. And this is the time to share that with the homeowner. You want to share that with the homeowner right now. I found a problem. I got to let you know about it, but I got a solution. If you don't do that, you're going to be dealing with this thing called the conflict monster a little bit later, because you're going to be avoiding the conflict. The key with the pre-construction meeting is to identify problems and solve them. And you want to handle the conflict right now. You want to present solutions to them. They're like, wow, that wasn't that big a deal. We figured it out right away. And change orders, back to this, change orders are bad. How many of you like change orders? So nobody likes them. So does everybody dislike them? Steve likes change orders because it adds more product. But as a contractor, change orders are bad because you put a plan together, you spend a lot of time figuring this all out, and now there's a change. If there's going to be a possibility for a change order, you want to flush that out at the pre-construction meeting. You want to get an ear to it and say, is there going to be any changes? I need to know right now. If we're going to change, I got time to do that before we start the project, but if we make changes after we start, it's going to really start becoming a problem. It not only hurts the project you're on, it starts hurting the projects that you're going to do next, who are waiting for you to show up and start, because it starts adding work. And I think most of us who've been in the industry long enough have experienced that. You want to walk through the plan with the homeowner, walk through every detail. You want to get a sign off on the plan and the schedule. And you want to discuss the daily operations. How do you want me to communicate with you? What works best? Think of their personality types. Sometimes you'll have one of the homeowners say, yeah, text me for the small stuff, and text her for the big, or email or call her for the big stuff. And so you establish some type of communication standard with the customer so you can work with them through the project, and that's the boundaries have been set. You've got rhythms. You might agree that you meet on a daily basis. Set reality expectations. Identify what their pet peeves are. I don't know how many of you asked this question, but I think it's a great question to ask. So what really upsets you? Ask the customer that. What really upsets you? Okay, great. So you don't like when people smoke anywhere near your property. I'm glad we know that, right? What else upsets you? Well, I hate messes. Okay, so we're going to be making a big mud pit in your backyard, and you hate messes. All right, okay, that's good to know. What else upsets you, right? And they will continue to tell you. And then the next question is, when you get upset, how do you respond? How do you respond when you're upset? Do you just say something? Do you send an email? Do you scream? Do you talk calmly? Let's just understand that now, because we're going to probably have a few problems on the project, but I really want to understand what upsets you so we can establish some communication rhythms to make sure we're on the same page. And then you confirm everybody knows and understands the communication. So that's the pre-construction meeting. You've done that, and now I want to talk about the conflict monster. So I was talking about conflict earlier, and so the conflict monster is something that happens when you don't address conflict when it's small, and it grows into a big, huge monster on you, and it gets really ugly. And so there's a couple of points here that when there's conflict, it's never a big deal when it's small, right? So you're at the pre-construction meeting, and you find a problem, and you're going to end up having to move a pipe, and it's going to cost X amount of dollars, and you tell them that you're going to have to do that, and they say, oh, wow, well, I'm not entirely happy about that, but I'm glad you caught it now, right? It's small, they get over it, they're not extremely upset. Is there an elephant in the room? You want to call it out. You know in your gut if something's not right. You want to call it out and ask what's going on, ask if everybody's okay, ask what their concerns are. Then another thing is that bad news is better than no news. A lot of people don't have an answer to something, so instead of saying, I don't have an answer for you, they completely avoid the communication. Bad news is better than no news. So if you've got bad news to share with somebody, go ahead and share it with them instead of avoiding it and hoping that it's going to go away, because it typically doesn't. And so here's the essence of conflict. People who avoid conflict only have experience dealing with escalated conflict. Therefore, they continue the cycle and never experience how pleasant it is to deal with it while it is small. So their life is full of nothing but dealing with conflict once it's risen to this big monster, because they continually avoid it and it continually gets reinforced. Yep, that was an awful experience. That was a terrible experience when I dealt with that. The people who deal with it when it's small, oh, that wasn't that bad. I'm glad I told them. We moved on from it pretty quick. So here's how the conflict monster works. I'm going to use an example here. This is a project. So it's really small here. And you need to share some news with the customer. It's not great news. They wanted this thing done by the graduation party. You were going to finish it 3 weeks early. Now you're not. You got to tell them, look, we're going to run late and finish in 2 weeks at our latest. It's our mistake. We overlooked an item. Here's the new schedule. The customer's going to be a little upset, but they're not going to be crazy upset. They're going to say, yeah, you know, I'm not real happy about this, but I'm glad you told me, because now I can make some changes and make some plans to be able to deal with this, right? Here's the second alternative. You can see the monster is a little bit bigger. The homeowner now approaches you. I'm concerned. Is everything still on track? They kind of got a gut. Something's going on. They're seeing how much work's left to be done, and they're seeing the timeline approaching, and they're wondering what the heck's going on. Are you going to finish this thing on time? They now have lost some confidence in you. They're saying, I'm concerned. Is everything still on track? And then you can deal with it then, or you can avoid and give the answer, yeah, we're going to still finish on time. So when you avoid that, what happens is eventually the customer is going to get really upset because there's been no communication around this. And then all of a sudden this person's going to show up. The monster. And they're not fun to deal with. Depending on what their personality is, they're going to treat you differently. Why are we 2 weeks late and when will you finish? Why aren't you returning my calls? You could have told me. Now I have to cancel the furniture delivery and I'm not paying you. And I'm also going to tell all my friends on Facebook and the rest of the world how bad you are. So that's the conflict monster. It's a tool. If there's one thing in what we're discussing today that you can get away from this, it's something to really embrace and share with your employees and share with your team about how when there's a problem, you need to share it right away. Because it will get ugly. And I've been involved in remodeling projects where as a leader in a company, things escalated and it had gone through a few levels before it got to me. And at that time, all I was dealing with was monsters because anything that didn't escalate got taken care of down here. And it all boiled down to simply avoiding communication and not dealing with it when it was small. So the conflict monster. Then the project starts. And then this guy shows up. So project management, you're now building the job. You want to update your schedule. You want to confirm any changes. You want to set up the project property and go to all extremes to respect the property. One of the things I've learned over the years is that one of the easiest ways for somebody to get really upset and emotional and feel like they're violated is if you don't respect their property. Simple things. Parking in someone's driveway. It's not good manners, right? If you need to for a little bit, but move the car. Not laying something on the grass to protect it unless you set that expectation. Not picking up things at the end of the day. Just not respecting their property. It's one way to really lose trust and confidence in a customer. Start on time. You put a schedule together. Obviously you need to start on time. And you want to show up well. So that guy in the last picture, the customer's watching, right? And he's standing out in the yard with his irrigation pipes on his arms acting goofy. I don't know if that's going to leave the best impression with the homeowner. They might think it's great, but if you don't know that customer, how they're going to respond to that, you want to make sure everybody shows up well and they're respectable. The first impressions can either build or decay trust. You want to share an updated schedule with all involved, the staff, the customers, the suppliers, the subs, and you want to make sure all materials were ordered well in advance and you have called Hedberg and given them plenty of notice to get all the materials you need for that project out to your job site. That was my only plug, guys. I had to do one plug, sorry. It's true though, there's some truth in that. We keep things in stock here and we pride ourselves in that, but a lot of times folks last minute need something and there's 4 other people who last minute needed something and it can be kind of difficult for everybody in that situation. The more communication and planning in advance when it comes to materials, the more successful everything's going to be for everybody involved. And have a plan A and a plan B. So if this particular piece doesn't arrive when it's supposed to, which I'm thinking it's not, I got a plan. I'm going to go ahead and continue building this area. That's going to arrive at this date, and then we'll put it in. It'll create more work for us to do that, but I got a plan B to be able to keep things on schedule. So be really creative and have a plan B. Don't just run with your plan A, because when something happens, you're not going to be able to deal with it. Have a plan B in your back pocket. Over-communicate and think of the conflict monster. Just think of that. Deal with it when it's small. Follow up on agreed rhythms and dates and notify of all and any changes, even if no answer is the only answer. Keep the job site clean each day. How many of you have this rule in your business as far as keeping job sites clean every day? Awesome. Awesome. When a job site is dirty, you could have the highest quality product sitting there. If a job site is dirty, it looks like really poor quality product. And the customer is going to automatically assume that you're doing poor quality work, even though at the end of the day it's going to be beautiful when it's done. It starts creating that perception. So having a really clean job site is extremely important. Don't save a repair for the end. If somebody, and I'll share an experience I have in the design build business, a lot of cabinet installers will adjust their cabinet doors when they come back and do final trim on the project, when they come back and hang the doorknobs and everything. But they'll leave the cabinets out of whack. They won't adjust the doors and get them all nice and level and flush looking with each other. And they say, we'll do it when we come back. Well, what happens is the customer sits and stares at that for 3 weeks or 2 weeks. And every time they look at those cabinets, they think, well, I thought these were high quality cabinets. They look like crap to me. Because they're looking at something that's not finished. So when you do something on a job and it needs fixed or it's not finished, you want to finish that. You don't want to leave somebody sitting and staring at something that looks half done the entire time. And you don't want to create punch work that creates a never-ending project. And be unstoppable about getting the project complete on time. It takes twice as long to come back and touch up a small detail or deal with something. You've got new projects you're doing now and they need 100% of your attention. You don't want to be going back and chasing projects. And when I say be unstoppable, it's like being crazy. Like you need to call all hands on deck. This thing's supposed to finish on Friday, and it looks like it's not going to finish. What are we going to do to get this done? I'm going to call in some help. Hey, I'm going to call a competitor and see if one of his guys can get over and help us, because we're going to get this thing done, because we got this project we're starting on next Tuesday. And it's really critical to do this. If you start piling up a bunch of projects that aren't finished, it becomes a complete never-ending spiral, and it's very difficult to dig your way out of that. And then you finish the project. You do a close and a recap. You celebrate the finish. You set the expectation that there's a final payment on X day. This is really important. How many of you are uncomfortable with the money part at the end? I am.
Progressive payments.
Progressive payments, but there's a final payment, right? And if you don't set an expectation of specifically when that's going to happen, it can make it a little uncomfortable and it can kind of linger on. So just an expectation. Walk the customer through every detail of the project on the daily care and maintenance of the project. Take pictures during the build at every stage. And then you can do a book. It's really fun. Do like a before and after book where you've got, here's the before, here's the during, here's the after. Here's the guy with the irrigation pipes on his arm in the yard. And they have all these memories, and the kids were involved, and it's something special. They'll share it with their neighbors and friends. They're going to take a lot of pride in their project. And allow the customer, and again, this is a conflict thing, allow the customer to share any areas of improvement. If you leave there and they haven't disclosed to you what their frustrations were, they have that on their chest. When they talk to other people, they'll share it with them, but they didn't share it with you. So the way to really clean that up is to clean it up. So at the very end, it's really important to say, hey, I know this looks good. We're really happy with it. There were some bumps along the way. I want to get some feedback from you and really give you a chance to vent to me around what didn't work on this project. And let them get it off of their chest. This is going to create tons of referral business for you. Because now they don't have nothing bad to say about you because you had a conversation with them and you had closure. Talk about any future projects and then set up a check-in meeting in 30 to 90 days. So that was the process from beginning to end. I have a few tools and resources that I want to share with you. And then hopefully, and it doesn't look like we're going to have a lot of time for questions. I'm not sure if the lunch is ready or not. Does anybody know that? If the lunch is ready or not? Just to see if we have time for questions. I want to show you a software real quick. And then there's a couple of other items here. Structure Studios, I got a buddy who has a design build landscape firm in Cleveland. And he shared this with me. I don't know a lot about this software in the landscaping industry, but this Structure Studios product seemed really awesome to me. They got like a pool package and all kinds of really neat stuff with great rendering. So I just got it on here as a resource if you guys want to check into it. There's some apps you can get for your phones. How are we doing?
We're doing great. We've got barbecue sandwiches.
Okay, is it going to be ready soon?
It's ready anytime.
It's ready.
But
okay.
You want to make sure that everybody gets their question answered? That's fine.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to show some software here after, and then we'll be done here. And then if you guys have any questions, you can pull me aside, or I'll come around and talk to you as you're eating, because I don't want to hold you guys up too much. We're also going to have our displays over here and people answering questions on those. But I do want to put this software on here. I also wanted to give you a heads up from a tool and a resource. Belgard is going to be doing a design studio. They're going to be doing a master class here on January 23rd. And so if you want to see, some opportunity as far as creating 3D renderings, they have a design studio they're going to be sharing with everybody here on the 23rd. Let me show you this software real quick here. I'm going to have to switch out of this. So this is a software that I used in the design build industry, remodeling, and it's designed for builders and remodelers. It's a really cool product. It handles customer communication, internal communication, it handles documents, it handles change orders, it handles estimating and pricing. It's a cloud-based, you can put all your plans on it as an app, you can put to-do lists on it. Anytime you make a change, all the people who you want notified are already programmed, and they will automatically receive that change. So if you change the schedule, the homeowner will get a text message or an email, whatever format you agreed upon, that there's been a change made to the project. You can post photos. So I'm going to show the video here. I talked to them. I worked with them a lot in the past and asked them why didn't they have a landscape software. I looked for landscape softwares that did something similar. I haven't found any. If you guys have one, please share it with me. But I thought this was the best product that you could kind of blindfold yourself on the fact that it's designed for remodelers and general contractors, and ask yourself, could I actually use this in my landscaping business or in my masonry business or any other business? It's got all the tools you need to help run your projects. So I'm going to show you this video real quick here, and then after that we can break and have lunch. And I'll just go around. If you guys have questions, just grab me and I'll go around as you're eating and talk to you.
For cloud-based project management. Buildertrend's mobile app is the most complete mobile app on the market for cloud-based project management and communication software. The Buildertrend app is the #1 reason why you and your team should be using Buildertrend right now. It's so powerful and can immediately bring all of the different parts of your world together in one app on your mobile device. So let's take a look at it. The Buildertrend mobile app is available in your Apple or Android app store. Your Buildertrend subscription gives you unlimited users and app downloads. Once you download the app, it's branded with your logo. That means every time you, your team, your trade partners, and your clients use the app, they'll be advertising your company. Buildertrend is the only app in the marketplace that allows you full functionality, which means Buildertrend can immediately start connecting your field and office together to save you time and money. As you can see, the app has 21 feature icons. Today, we're going to take a look at our top 10 features our clients love to use every day to save them time and money. Each feature is so simple to use. I can just tap on the Photos icon to start adding unlimited photos straight to the job that I'm on. As you can see, when I tap on Photos, we have different albums that represent different viewing permissions that I want. This makes it easy to know who exactly will see the photos that I'm uploading. When I want to add photos for my client to see, you can pull up your camera roll and choose from the photos that you've taken. And there we go. I just uploaded 8 photos in 8 seconds with a few taps. No other system can do that. Just like that, the photos I want are in the correct job, correct folder, watermarked with your company logo, and shareable to social sites like Facebook automatically. Our app is constantly updated to take advantage of new features like 3D Touch. Want a faster way to add photos? Just 3D Touch on the Buildertrend app and choose Add Photo. It's simple and fast. The time clock feature has quickly become a favorite with our Buildertrend users. Why? Because it saves you from the headache of having to do manual timesheets, and as with all things in the Buildertrend app, it's really simple to use. Tap on the time clock icon, select a job, and clock in. Buildertrend will pinpoint the location of an employee when clocking in using GPS and allow them to select tags and put notes in their shift. everything will be in Buildertrend for easy pay period reporting. The other feature you'll find GPS location in is in daily logs. What our clients love the most about daily logs is that it's super simple and flexible. As you can see, once I tap on the icon, I select a job site, and then Buildertrend is using GPS to mark our location. Now you can use my favorite feature, built-in dictation. Here we can just talk into the device and it will translate our voice to text for really easy notes. In addition, you'll be able to include the weather and add files, video, and photos. Here's another amazing feature, drawing on photos. To use this, tap on the Add Photo icon and select the photo. Then, we can draw with our finger. It's a fantastic way to point out issues for you, your team, subs, and clients. Creating a task or to-do is another place within the app you'll find the powerful Draw on Photos feature. To-dos gives you the ability to create a checklist in less than 30 seconds. For instance, let's say I'm on the job site and as I'm walking around, I want to create a painting checklist. I can dictate in any of these fields to save time. Painting checklist. Just like that. As I move through the house, I can add items to the checklist and I can just say, looks like there's some spots on the kitchen cabinets we need to touch up with white paint. Or maybe, touch up all the baseboards leading up the stairwell in the main living room. From here, I can assign these tasks or to-dos to any of the other internal users, whether it's an employee, subcontractor, or a vendor. All of them are listed right there in that drop-down, and when I go to assign this task to my painter, it's actually going to send him a notification via text, email, or push notification, along with the deadline. And the best part? I can use the Draw on Photos feature to take a picture of the kitchen cabinets or baseboard and circle those spots that I'm talking about. So whoever you assign the checklist to will see the photos along with their list of tasks. Being able to draw on photos is powerful, so we've added this to documents as well. The Docs feature is where we can view, share, and edit documents. No matter if I have an Excel file, Word file, or PDF, you can pull it up in the mobile app and make any changes needed. We give you the ability to access your documents on the go, so you can check measurements at our job site, annotate, mark up plans, or leave comments, all within the Buildertrend app. It's that quick, right on the app. Need something more than just a photo? The Videos feature is a great place to organize and upload videos of your job. Let's say I want to upload a video of the pre-drywall walkthrough. All I have to do is tap to add a video, then choose a video from the videos that I have on my phone. Once I select the one I want, I tap upload and it's in the system. It's that easy. We give you unlimited video storage so you can easily find a video years down the road. The scheduling tool on the app is truly unique because we're the only mobile app that allows you to not only internally set up a schedule, but make changes to that schedule right here in Buildertrend. So I can set the job, go to the schedule, pick up a scheduled item and shift it if need be. It's automatically shifting those items in real time and giving me the option of updating all the affected subs, vendors, or clients. Gone are the days that I need to remember to make changes to the Excel sheet or whiteboard in the office. I can make the necessary changes in real time for more accurate scheduling. A feature you'll find mixed into many different parts of Buildertrend is the comments. Comments are automatically organized by job and topic, so they're super simple to find. In addition, all comments are sent to you in push notifications, allowing you to tap on the push notification, which will directly take you into the app and the correct location of the comment. You'll wow your clients with fast responses and never find yourself digging through text messages again. Our Messages feature finally creates one central place for you and your team to share and review messages from each other, clients, and subs. It takes less time for you to message in Buildertrend's app than for you to do it with your normal email on your mobile device. Plus, Buildertrend's messages will keep them automatically organized by job, subject, and be sent to users' normal email addresses. No other system is going to give you a message center that is more useful yet similar to your normal email, along with organizing everything in one place. I've shown you some amazing features and ways Buildertrend can save you time and money, but if you want an immediate return on your investment in Buildertrend, then look no further than change orders. With our change order feature, you can now quickly create a change order on the go by adding a title, price, notes, attached docs or photos, and then email the change order to your client. Or just hand your mobile device over to them to sign right there for an approval on an immediate change order. It's so simple in Buildertrend, and this ensures you always accurately document change orders and never lose another dollar. So there it is. the top 10 features in Buildertrend's fully functional app. There's a lot more here for you when you sign up, like adding bills and...
I'm going to stop there. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen. Hopefully you learned something with us today. We've got barbecue lunch out here for everybody. And then I'll go around. If you guys have any questions, just grab me, or I'll go around and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. But I want to give everybody an opportunity to have some lunch before it gets cold. Thank you.